Mac, would you like to lead us, please?
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Okay, and then we have Pastor John Polnow.
Before we start, I just want to thank the city for the new road in front of the church. Appreciate that very much. If you would you pray with me? God in heaven, today I want to say thank you for your blessings on the city of 29 Palms. I want to thank you for the lives that live here, that you have made to serve one another, and for us to live up to our potential as your creations. I thank you for our families, for our homes, for our places of worship, for this city and the places that we have to celebrate our lives together. Tonight, Lord, I pray that the peace of your Holy Spirit would rest in this place. I thank you for these leaders gathered here who will bring fresh ideas, creativity as decision makers. I ask that you give them wisdom to govern amid conflicting interests and issues of our time, that you would give them your peace and your understanding to make wise decisions. I ask for a sense of welfare for the true needs of the people who live here. Specifically, I ask for ideas and plans for housing and jobs and businesses, or that you would give direction that serves everyone, from those who have the most to those who have the least. I ask that you give a keen thirst for justice and rightness, something that is good and fitting for the people who live here. Lord, I ask for the ability to work together in harmony, even when there is honest disagreement. I ask for personal peace to these leaders, and in their lives you would give them joy in their task and fulfillment in what they accomplish. I pray for selfless leadership and a spirit of unity for the betterment of this community. Again, I thank you for our home here in 29 Palms, these leaders who serve it, and your hand of blessing upon it. I pray this in your Son Jesus' name. Amen. Thank you all.
Okay, thank you. Okay, roll call, please.
Councilmember Klink,
I'm here.
Councilmember Wright,
Here.
Councilmember Buildering,
Here.
Mayor Pro Tem O'Gilvie,
Present.
Mayor Mintz.
Here.
All present.
Thank you. Closed sessions announcements, we have none. Any changes to the agenda? None. Okay, announcements. These proceedings will be viewed on demand of the City of 29 Palms website at www.29palms.org. You may also live stream this meeting by going to our website and clicking on Meeting Agendas link. Awards, presentations, appointments, and proclamation. Presentations of 29 Palms High School Volleyball team for participation in Cash for Trash. And so if you'd meet Mayor Pro Tem at the podium. And what I understand, the Burtech check is in the mail. So check's in the mail. But somebody come up. Don't. Yes, she does have money.
Hello. How are you? Good. How are you? Good. How are you? All righty. Can you tell us where you picked the trash?
The lot behind Rite Aid. The lot behind Rite Aid?
Okay, how many bags? All like 15. Well, the city of 29 Palms really appreciate what you young ladies have done on behalf of the city. We like to keep our city as beautiful as we can, and thank you very much.
Okay, thank you. Okay, we have council comments and reports and meetings attended. Joel?
Thank you, Mayor. The mayor and I attended the city county conference in Ontario this past Thursday. A lot of discussion on recovering from the COVID-19 months, and money that's available for the city that we'll get and everything. So it's looking pretty good for the city right now with us getting back to normal, which we thought would never happen with the COVID, but it looks like it's going to happen. And I also want to remind everybody that fireworks is at Knott Sky Park, and if you want to see the fireworks, you got to look to the east. Thank you.
Steve? Sorry.
Good evening, Mr. Mayor. I have nothing to report.
Ellie? Oh, Mac?
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. I didn't go to no meetings or anything like that. Celebrated my wife's birthday, took her to dinner, so it was good. Scored a bunch of brownie points.
All right, hey.
It had something to do with food, so it's.
Mayor Pro Tem?
Hi, I did not attend any meetings.
Oh, okay. Okay. Well, the city manager and I did the up-close show. The radio station wanted to do just city progress, where things are going, some of the new things that are coming. So we gave everybody an update on that. Went to the skate park contest I didn't know there was a skateboard day, and they had a contest there. It was like a lot of folks there, and I welcomed them, and I went to welcome some bike riders who stopped in Twentynine Palms. They're going from Santa Barbara to Washington, D.C. to make awareness for special needs children. And went to the change of command out to 3-4, and also went to the city-county conference. We had a really good speaker on economics, and he talked about some things that has been going on, and hopefully things go well for everyone. So, and that's about it. Oh, I will mention that it was kind of watching all those folks from the county. Some of the people from the county hadn't even seen their counterparts or anybody in a year either. Like we talk about here, small town, we get to see people. Well, in the county, it's so big that they had a lot of them had to stay home. But a bunch of them, the people that worked in the same departments, just first time they've seen each other in a year since they did that. So they were kind of excited about that. So anyway, okay, we'll go to consent calendar. All matters listed on the consent calendar to be considered routine by the city council and will be acted by one motion in the form listed. Any item may be removed from the consent calendar and considered separately by the city council. The public may be given an opportunity to comment on the consent calendar items prior to the city council action. Okay. Does anybody want to pull anything from the consent calendar? Anybody from the public would like to discuss anything on the consent calendar? Okay, back here for a motion. I will be abstaining from the entire consent calendar tonight because it has to do with Project Phoenix and could be a possible conflict of interest.
I move the consent calendar.
I'll second it, but we want to make sure everybody knows that that's Mayor Pro Tem Carmelette, because I don't see her. Is that? Oh, is it there? You can't even see it here.
Frank, are you hiding it?
No, she's not. He's not, but you can't see it from my point.
Oh, okay.
Okay, just making sure.
Okay. All right, so I'm looking for a motion for the consent calendar.
Already did it.
And I seconded it.
Oh, okay. Roll call, please.
Councilmember Bildering.
Aye.
Councilmember Klink.
Aye.
Councilmember Wright.
Aye.
Mayor Pro Tem O'Gilvie.
Aye.
Mayor Mintz abstains.
Okay,
Approved
thank you.
401. Oh,
Sorry,
401.
it kind of got me out of sync there when talking about Carmelette's name tag.
Yeah,
Very hard to see.
I think it's the light.
I think so, yeah.
Yeah. Items removed from the consent calendar for discussion is none. Public hearing, discussion of potential action items. Number 4, Water District Ad Hoc Committee.
Yeah, thank you, Mr. Mayor, members of the council. So staff is recommending that the council form an ad hoc committee with the Twentynine Palms Water District, along with appointing two members from the city council. Just by way of background, what is ad hoc? It's a Latin phrase for this, and for this is what we're looking to do, a very specific topic or general topic, potentially, with the water district. As we move towards and forward with the development of wastewater treatment, I think the collaboration is paramount to be able to work through that process. So with that, I know the water district, I think last meeting, has set up, called up their ad hoc committee. I don't know who the two members that have been assigned, but they have completed that, so just looking for the council. We haven't set a date yet for the first meeting. I know General Manager Kolish is on vacation, I think, this week, so it'll probably be in like mid-July.
Well, I've been working at this quite a while for the last 2 terms, so I'd like to be one of the persons on the committee.
I would like to be the second if possible.
No, I want to do it too.
Well,
Get arm wrestle.
we could arm wrestle, or the you two could just do it. That's fine. I'll just listen for your reports. You guys can do it. That's fine.
And this is Councilmember Wright and Mayor Pro Tem O'Gilvie. All in favor?
Aye.
All right. Okay, well, I get to step out because this is the budget, the special fund budget, which has all kinds of Project Phoenix stuff in it, so I have to abstain from each one, so I'm not going to do that for each item, so I'm just going to step out.
Well, you have a good evening.
Yeah, be here a while. I'm gonna step out for St. Andrews update. I'll be back. I'll be quick. Telling you a half hour.
Okay, and for this section, we'll turn it over to the hands of the city manager.
Well, thank you, Mayor Pro Tem, council members. So the item in front of you this evening is our special funds budget. So staff is recommending the approval of the resolution that authorizes the special funds for the fiscal years 21-22 and 22-23. It's our 2-year budget. Enclosed in the staff report is, is the resolution along with the detail side of the budget. But with that, we'll go through the overview of it within the PowerPoint. As discussed before, this is the 4th meeting that we'll have for our budget. We started this back in April 27th, now concluding it in June 29th. The general fund has been adopted last meeting, and now we're looking for the same for the special funds budget. So the budgeting process begins back in January, and the first step of that budgeting process is to see what the priorities of the council are. So we had that meeting in this very room at that time, and trying to get the focus, some areas of focus that the council wanted us to address. Just kind of running down through these, not all of which are within the special funds, but I think it's important to address these. So vacation home rentals, that was something of a topic within our strategic planning. So council gave that priority. Last meeting, council has gave direction, and I think we're going to have some planning commission meetings July 20th, I think is the first one, to look at an enhanced enforcement along with density restrictions, along with scheduled a moratorium, proposed moratorium on August 24th. Off-road enforcement, another topic that council wanted us to address. We're working with the sheriff's department on, they were losing some resources with the green tag sticker money, but looking at potentially using some of our cops' money and other resources to make sure that we stay on top of the off-road enforcement. COVID relief at that time, back in January, we didn't realize we would be receiving the American Recovery Act money. The city has received $6.2 million. I think we've already received our first tranche of it, I believe. We're close to it anyway. At the end of this month, we'll receive our purse. They're going to give it to us in 2 tranches. First tranche is about 50%, I think 50%. We're going to get $6.2 million, so $3.1 million we should get in the first. And, the only thing within the budgets that we've addressed thus far is revenue loss, and we'll be bringing that continuously in front of the council of other ways to be able to utilize those funds. Bike pass, the channel trails is within the special funds budget, along with Sullivan Road. Then, from a sidewalk perspective, on 2 Mile Road, from Adobe to Utah in that range there, and also on El Paseo by Oasis Elementary. So those are 2 areas, or 4 areas anyway, that we're working towards. Updating infrastructure and facilities, although generalized in nature, we continue to look at all of our facilities to make sure that we're maintaining them properly and upgrading when needed. The one that probably not, probably highlighted within there that we're working towards is the animal shelter. The animal shelter is old and deteriorating and actually needing some enhancements there. So working towards that. Lucky Park Pool, a specific area that was highlighted. We'll address that more. That is within the budget, funded. Probably need more resources for that. Potentially, the American Recovery Act can provide that. And I'll talk a little bit more about that later. Staff training, that we included in the general fund budget. Tear down dilapidated structures. We got our first one down, I think, last week, 2 weeks, 3 weeks ago, right there on Adobe Road. Probably a long time coming for those who've been around the city for a while. And we continue to move forward and be aggressive using the resources that we have for other dilapidated buildings. Healthcare district collaboration, working with the healthcare district. I know one of the things that we talked about that we heard is urgent care, not a urgent care within the city, and potentially there may be ways of dealing with that, so we're collaborating with them on that. Veteran services, I think Councilmember Wright may be working with Ms. Benton on creating a fair, I guess, to connect the veterans with some services that are out there. Then finally is housing. Through our professional poll we recently did, housing was the #1 issue that kind of came back from our residents. What we're working towards right now is we have some land right directly behind City Hall, 3.5 acres, I think, approximately, working with a housing developer to try to bring some low-mod housing in that area, amongst other housing developments. So those were all the priorities that the council kind of gave us back in January, which started our budgeting process. What are special funds? They're very specific. We collect the resources for a very specific topic, most of which are capital, but some of which are operating. Just overall, both capital and operations within the special funds, it's over $30 million. It's a lot compared to normal, mainly due to this, and especially in fiscal 21-22, we'll be completing Project Phoenix, so that's why it's higher than normal. Just looking at our funding sources that are out there, again, as mentioned, relating to capital, and this is talking about capital, we have $25 million we'll be spending this year in this variety of resources. And you don't want to have any money left over, right? I mean, that, it's not like our general fund where you're looking at reserves. You want to receive this money and put it out there for projects. Curb, gutter, and sidewalk, although building a balance there, we're working on revising that. So that program will be modified a bit, not only what we collect, but what we can use it for. One of the things that we may modify it towards is using it for bike paths, kind of expanding upon that other than sidewalks. So that'll be coming in future. But those are all of our sources that are out there, and we're utilizing them. This just illustrates, I've been using this several years. It kind of brings us back to the challenge that we had. If you go back to 13-14, our gas tax was, relatively healthy, but then gas prices started plummeting, efficient vehicles started happening. We joked at that time, I think Larry Bowden got an electric car, and so a lot of things like that were happening where people weren't buying gas. And so when you don't buy gas, the gas tax decreases. So efficiency and all those other things kind of compiled together. The state of California came back with SB 1 to address it. City realizes from an individual perspective, paying more at the pump, from the city's perspective, although it kind of brought back to where we were at and increased our streets funding. Looking at our capital projects that we have, broken down by categories, streets, parks, safety, Project Phoenix, and other. Again, that $25 million is mentioned. Just kind of looking at by category, streets, just our general overlay, our internal street crew overlay. Part of our capital funds, gas tax, LTF, and Measure I, pay for our streets crew, okay? That's $850,000 for our streets crew. Just one thing I want to point out there, we use those three. LTF, as we talked about in the general fund, that will be going away next year. So that will be completely exhausted The MBTA will be utilizing all of those resources, and so the general fund will have to pick up an additional $150,000 of the street crew, and that's already within the budget. The median project by Stater Brothers, that's out there, $700,000. The Highway Safety Improvement Program, that one is just to highlight the areas here. So it's going to be all the high, it's identified as high crash intersections. The intersections will be enhanced with a install flashing beacons and increasing the markings and other upgrades in the intersections. The intersections are 2 Mile Road in Lear, 2 Mile Road in Mesquite Springs, Adobe and Sullivan, Adobe and Smith Ranch Road, Utah Trail and Amboy, and Utah Trail and Baseline. So that project there will help within those intersections to improve safety. The channel at El Rey, working with County Flood on improving that bridge. That bridge, as we all know, we haven't had rain for a while, but hopefully it's coming soon. As we know that culvert in the past and high storm event just wasn't able to handle the high volumes of water. So it would go on top of the road, wash out the railing, wash out the sidewalk, and create a lot of damage. So so this improvement along with County Flood will rectify that problem. Then just general equipment replacement. Skip that slide. This one probably illustrates it better. The numbers have changed. I didn't update this, but the illustration is best. From our road system, we want to make sure that we maintain our roads. It's paramount to maintain our roads. Touch as many roads in our system as possible. We have, in our entire city, we have 150 miles worth of roads. We maintain 100 miles of roads, and the slurry seal, the microsurfacing, the chip seal, the overlay, all the various elements of maintenance is really important because if you let them get to a point where they have to be reconstructed, as you could see from the illustration, it's a lot of money to reconstruct. So that's why it's so important that we try to touch and maintain and have that road funding as much as possible to avoid that. Our road system, there's a PCI index, pavement, I can't think of the acronym, but anyway, our road index is very high. So our road crew is doing a good job of maintaining our roads. Looking at the park improvements, Lucky Park upgrade, this is the pool, okay? So as of this budget, we have 1.4 million in there. That, as we're getting deeper into this, that is not enough. We're going to be north of, $2 million, we know. And so within the general fund budget that you adopted last meeting, you have surpluses in the 2 years of $700,000 and $600,000. So as we get into this and as we work through the American Recovery Act, we're going to have to augment this funding, to accomplish this project. Continuing safety projects, classify a bike path as a safety project. So Sullivan, as mentioned before. Split Rock Bridge, although this funding has not been completely secured yet, the design is almost complete, and that's the construction of the Split Rock Bridge. Neighborhood safety project, and I have an illustration of this. This is in various areas around the city. Not from an intersection perspective, but a neighborhood perspective, that we're going to be, same thing, enhancing street markings, flashing beacons, to have these neighborhoods to be more safe. This is a grant-funded opportunity along with improving the roads as well. So this funding will also improve the roads. Safe route to school, as mentioned before, on 2 Mile Road from Adobe to Utah Trail, then also on El Paseo by Oasis. Those are the 2 safe routes to school projects. Then probably try to make this a little bigger, probably an eye test. The many tasks that we have this coming year in Project Phoenix. The roads down there in Project Phoenix are not complete. Those, if you've been on those roads, you'll see, if you look at them, you may wonder, it doesn't look like they're complete, and the reason is because they're not complete. You know, that is just the base on them, so there still needs to be capped. So that will be coming shortly, along with Yucca Avenue. You know, that will be, and also the Paseo, all that concrete will be going in, that stamp colored concrete will be going in. EV chargers, that will be going in, you know, this year, hopefully by October. You know, so that we'll have 5 chargers there, 3 fast chargers, 2, you know, slower chargers. So that opportunity will be down there. The visitor center is mentioned many times. That, you know, now we have the visualization. Now it's becoming 3-dimensional now, and as opposed to looking at it on a piece of paper. So that very exciting process, along with the community center, managing the project, architectural, and these are all remaining costs that we have. The multi-purpose facility features, fixtures. So, you know, bleachers and other things associated with the interior of the building. So that all these funding sources that are out there, the remaining site improvements, you know, they're in the process now of completing that, Jacobson. So that will be the remaining task for this coming fiscal year. Some minor property acquisitions in the back. You know, you see those, if you notice, those houses have been coming down in the back. We may have a couple more property acquisitions to go, so we have a little money there. The sewer treatment plant, the package treatment plant, along with some of the operating costs within Project Phoenix is in there. The monument sign, you know, I think the bid comes back this week, right? Tomorrow, I believe. So the monument side, you know, looking right at Yucca Avenue on 62, so you'll have a sign kind of illustrating and detailing what is there. I think we've shown that the last couple meetings. Storefront improvement program, we're in the process of crafting that, hopefully this summer, maybe late summer, that we'll release that, because all these improvements that we are making, we want the businesses to make some investments as well. We realize in some cases that they don't have the resources to do that. So we're going to kind of craft a program, bring it to council for approval that will put some of our money in it, but also put some of their money in it to hopefully get, you know, some improvements, a lot of improvements down there. Grand opening celebration. I know Christina is excited, and we all are excited to be able to cut that ribbon and celebrate. And, you know, it's been a long time coming, and the timing of it is works out well too with our basketball tournament. So we'll be able to do something really grand, hopefully, during that time frame. New vaults. This is as it relates to some Edison improvements that we need to make down there. The meeting room. It's the kitchen, or so it's actually the kitchen. Council approved that 2 meetings ago. And storage, as council maybe recalls through the many iterations of Project Phoenix, and one of which is we thought we didn't have enough resources. We cut out some storage of the building, but we need storage, so we'll be bringing in some Connex boxes and dressing them up. I mean, we're not going to place, Travis won't let us have something ugly down there. You could trust that. So we'll be bringing that to the project, again, coming very soon. Looking at just some of the other projects, you know, basic vehicle replacement, the trails flood control channel, that's from Split Rock to Adobe Road. That's grant funded out of Prop 68. And then the two specific plans that we're working on, one of which downtown specific plan and the housing element update. Both of those are underway, and I think the downtown specific plan will be done by February next year, and the housing plan has to be done by October, I think, right? Is that okay? This year. So those are in process and will be completed soon. So some of the other funds that are out there in special that are not capital related, traffic safety fund. This is the tickets that the deputies write for traffic citations. We used to get a lot more money for traffic citations. The state and the court systems have kept the majority of that now, and we're getting I think about $5,000 now annually, so very little. We were in the past getting as much as, I think, $40,000 on it. So just the shift in the state side. Risk management, so SIR, self-insurance, retention, similar to a, I want to say deposit, similar to a, name escapes me, help me, insurance, deductible. Similar to a deductible SIR, so that's what we call it. So we have a fund there to to collect those when we have claims that are out there. Lighting and Landscaping District, Historic Plaza and Desert Vista, those are to support, those are fees on their property tax rolls to pay for those operations. Public Access TV Fund within those Spectrum bills, those of you who have a Spectrum bill, you pay a PEG fee that comes to the city for outreach. We use that for all the technology in this room so the public can see what we're doing electronically. TBID, our TBID is funded through our special funds. You know, it's a fee that goes on to the night stay that all is spent for the benefit of the tourism industry. Landfill, Land Use Fund, Article 19 and other trash-related funding that comes to the city that we use for tearing down the dilapidated buildings and other cleanup activities. Then finally is successor agency, and this is the former redevelopment bonds that we collect the tax increment from the property tax rolls to pay our bonds that are out there, and that's the only use of that fund. So that concludes the presentation, and I'd be happy to answer any questions.
Yeah, I have two questions.
Sure.
When you talk about the neighborhood project,
Yep.
does that include like street signs too?
So I'm going to pull this up here real quick. I'm going to see if it includes, unless, Mr. Clark, do you know? We believe it does. I'm looking at my update here from, so I'll just read it here. It includes flashing beacons, stop controlled intersections, upgraded intersection pavement markings. We'll confirm that, and we'll let that, I think Mr. Clark thinks it is included in it, but we'll confirm that. But we believe it is within that.
And then my other one is, like what kind of schedule is, Loria on for roads?
So, yes, so one of the things that we're working on this year, which is in the Measure I budget, is PMS, it's Pavement Management System. So that's our roadmap of kind of, what we do. So every best management practice on that, the BMPs on that are to do it every 5 years, which we're due. So what that process is, and I'll get to your answer, maybe not specifically, but generally, which is we'll go through all the roads in the city and very scientifically just, looking at how they deteriorate, how much traffic goes on them, and we'll rate them from top to bottom, worst to best. And then that schedule is how we determine what we do in each and every year. So I don't have when that is in front of you today, Lorea, but as we're working through that process of the PMS, we'll definitely bring that back to the council to see when it is. It's in bad shape from your perspective?
Yeah.
Okay. So I'll have our Public Works crew kind of take a look at that to kind of highlight that road.
Okay. That's it. Thank you.
I have a question. You mentioned the bike path on Hatch, Sullivan?
Sullivan, yep.
Okay, when will that occur?
So we're in the process right now of acquiring some right-of-way, because we need, how much do we need?
The road section's 80 feet,
In
so 40 feet inside.
So we need additional 40. So we're in the process of acquiring that additional right-of-way to extend that, and that's the step that we're in right now. That's a process. So we're hoping to be able to get that completed in this coming fiscal year. Once we're done with that, the internal staff and our paving equipment can, lay it out. It's the access to it as far as the property. So our anticipation is in this 21-22 year, but the only hangup is property acquisition.
And one more question. You mentioned when you were speaking with Councilmember Wright about some type of scientific.
Oh, from the PMS? Yes.
Yes.
Yeah, so they get out there and they, they have, there's equipment out there to kind of, to judge the thickness of it, or to measure the thickness of it. Then they'll have traffic counts to it. So it's not, it's not a arbitrary analysis of it. They'll actually physically go out there and analyze the roads and compile that and give it, as I mentioned before, the PCI index, and I apologize, pavement condition index, is that what it is, PCI? So it'll rate them, you know, from 0, which is really bad, to 100. And based on many factors, you know, thickness of the road, how much it's traveled, and other factors there, they'll give that number. And again, 0 is the worst, and so those are the ones that we'll work towards. Those that are in the 90s and et cetera probably won't be done in that 5-year period. So that's the process that we go through. Internal staff doesn't do that. We actually hire somebody to do that, to analyze it. But once that is complete, then we implement that system.
Okay.
You get no problem with land acquisition on Mesquite Springs. You get-
The Madam Mayor Pro Tem, is if the public has any
Yeah,
comment?
okay. Does the public have any questions or comments? So then we're back to the council.
What's resolution number?
2108.
I make a motion that we approve resolution number 2108 that authorizes the special funds budget for the fiscal year 2021-22 and 22-23.
Second.
You gotta say roll call.
Roll call, please.
Councilmember Klink,
Aye.
Councilmember Wright,
Aye.
Councilmember Bilderrain,
Aye.
Mayor Pro Tem O'Gilvie,
Aye.
Mayor Mintz abstains. So 401.
And council, as we're waiting for the mayor to come back in, and as, you know, for the mayor's knowledge as well, just wanted to thank you know, Abigail Hernandez, our new assistant finance director, and we have a great staff overall, and everything that each and every one of them do. But I just, you know, since we got the budget in front this evening, I mean, Abigail's been here for a month or so. Months kind of run together. It's probably longer than a month. 2 months? 2 months. And she's done a fantastic job putting this together and presenting it to the council. So thank you, Abigail.
All right. Future council initiated items. Anybody would like to have an initial item? No, seeing none. Okay, public comments. This is the time for the public to address the city council on issues within the jurisdiction of the city council that is not on this agenda. All comments are to be directed to city council and shall not consist of any personal attacks. Members of the public are expected to maintain a professional and courteous decorum during their comments. This is a time limitation of 3 minutes per person. If you haven't already done so, please fill out name and address slips and give them to the city clerk. The city council is prohibited by state law from taking action or discussing items not included on the printed agenda. Public comments on the specific agenda items will be deferred until the consideration of that item on the agenda. We probably should change that since we got this opposite. Okay, I have Heidi.
Good evening. This kind of goes back to some other subjects, but anyway, the main issue that needs to be addressed regarding short-term vacation home rentals is limits. Limits to the number allowed within the city limits. Limits to the number allowed in any neighborhood. Limits are needed in order to preserve the character of our neighborhoods and the city. There are limits on the number of liquor licenses, and I'm sure other types of permits and licenses as well. Short-term vacation home rentals are a business. They need limits too. As you work through all the issues surrounding the short-term vacation home rentals in the city of Twentynine Palms, think about the neighborhood you grew up in, raised your kids in. You knew your neighbors knew you. You knew you could go to them if you needed a car or a cup of sugar. Your kids knew this too. Now imagine your house is surrounded by short-term vacation home rentals. You're now on your own. No neighbors to rely on, no one for your kids to run to for help if they needed it. No neighbors keeping an eye on your place while you were gone for the weekend. No neighbors to check on your pets, water your plants. No neighbors to have a barbecue with. No families for you and your kids to hang out with. No kids for your kids to walk to the school bus stop with, if there even is one. There are now only strangers in the houses that change every few days. The small town neighborhood camaraderie is gone. Do your part to keep 29 Palms from turning into a city of hotels. You have the power to establish limits for short-term vacation home rentals and preserve the character of neighborhoods in the city. Work with the planning commission and give them guidance to establish limits and consider neighborhood
Thank you. Cindy?
Hi, nice to see you in person. My name is Cindy Bernard, and I'm a full-time resident of Indian Cove. My family's been there since 1961. I attended the Planning Commission meeting on June 22nd in support of appeals filed on permits located in Sherman Highlands and Indian Cove. The two permits are within 1.5 miles of each other approximately, and I'm more or less in between. The Planning Commission voted 3-1 to deny both appeals and approve the permits. Section B of the approval code states that the residential character of the neighborhood in which the use is located will be maintained and preserved, and that the issuance of the permit will not be detrimental to public health, safety, and welfare of the residents in the neighborhood, or injurious to the community within the vicinity and the district in which the use is located. Yet the staff report for this item in the appeals failed to evaluate the neighborhoods in which these permits are located. There is no mention of existing short-term vacation rentals, despite both permits being in the vicinity of VHRs. Instead, there is the same cookie-cutter language inserted to both appeals. It ignores the clause in the code about maintaining residential character. The Planning Commission equates maintaining the residential character of a neighborhood with nuisance enforcement. This is missing the larger points, as Javier just talked about. The residential character of a neighborhood is a set of ongoing relationships with people you come to know over time. Some of those may be problematic, like barking dogs and loud music, and in the Indian Cove in particular, dirt bikes going up and down the streets. But most neighbors become friends, people you rely on in your day-to-day life. These relationships are lost when homes are surrounded by STVHRs. When that happens, the residential character of the neighborhood fails to be maintained as directed by your own approval code. At the June 22nd Planning Commission meeting, they reiterated what they said in April, that they elect guidance from you, so all they can consider is the worthiness of the applicant. There are 46 pending permits, and they're gonna rubber stamp every single one of them. We'll be overrun by the time you guys go on the moratorium. To save us from this permit bonanza, here's a few suggestions for council to consider enacting temporarily until the moratorium is voted on. When appeals are received, direct planning to follow existing code and do a complete neighborhood evaluation that includes existing VHRs, and direct that they consider those VHRs when evaluating whether the residential character of a neighborhood is impacted. Waive the $300 second appeal fee so residents can afford to present appeals before council. Place a temporary hold on all pending permits that are not owner occupied, and you can look to the LA City regulations on this. Put a temporary hold on all pending permits in which the applicant is already operating one or more VHR in the city. I don't support a ban on the STVHRs. That said, the June 7th court ruling in Massachusetts found that short-term rentals are not consistent with residential zoning. And as you know, several low desert communities have already banned them. I have one sentence. I am told by Cathedral City colleagues that several STVHR properties have been sold, and that those owners are now looking here to set up new STVHRs. So please help us preserve the residential character of our neighborhoods. Thanks for your service to the community.
Thank you. Michelle? Oh, okay.
So, I've learned a lot in the last about 5 days of living here after 7 years. I live directly next door to the house that was an illegal marijuana grow house and raided and then subsequently set on fire. So, I live in, I think, Desert Vista, you were talking about up there, putting lights in. So, I mean, these houses, they're 10 feet apart from each other. The way my house is situated, thank goodness, I'm in the corner lot, and this house, we had like an extra space, so it didn't catch my house on fire. My husband also happens to be a fireman, so he was home. There was explosions coming from the house. I mean, it's a disaster. So I'm concerned about the safety of our town because this one is basically hiding in plain sight. All the deputies have said that 9 times out of 10, these aren't in residential neighborhoods. They're not set on fire. I feel like a few weeks ago when the town kind of came together to stop the SVP from coming to 29 Palms, which I also spoke at the court hearing for that also. I feel like our town, because all these that grow house was a misdemeanor. That know when I talked to several of the deputies, they said that Yucca Valley was able to add an extra deputy, and they have 3 now. I think they did some sort of tax or something, I don't know. That's something we can do here, I'm all for it. I have no idea how any of this kind of community action or, you know, getting something done happens, but I'm willing to be part of the solution, not just bringing up the problem, so. And then I wanna say that when I came to talk to people yesterday, because I've emailed senators, I've emailed representatives, they send me their standard answer, and I write them back and tell me, don't send me your standard answer. I don't, you know, something has to be done, because just because this is California and pot's legal doesn't mean, I mean, these people are criminals. They're doing something illegal, and they're getting away with it because they're making a lot of money so they can pay or not pay a couple $1,000 fine. They're not deterred by that at all. That's small potatoes to them. So I worked with Cindy yesterday. I worked with Chris, code enforcement came out. I have to say I'm blown away by how supportive and how amazing the city's been just since I started working with them yesterday. The deputies have been awesome. So I just want to put that out there. Thank you. But yeah, I don't know how to start fixing this problem.
Thank you. Actually, the state legislators where we have to start, because they're the ones who changed all the rules.
Well, I already emailed them.
Oh, good.
And I'll keep emailing them.
Good.
So, Mr. Mayor, just to
Yes.
kind of, you know, and I think maybe the captain is out there as well. So the Board of Supervisors, as the council is aware, they've allocated some money towards the sheriff's department for this. This is a problem. So I think they're beefing up their narcotics team up in the high desert. So for not only 29 Palms, but for the entire high desert. Must have been a call, because it looks like the captain and Chief Tuttle, they both left, so it must have been a call. Oh, they're back there? Oh, they're there. Oh, so, okay, sorry. So just talking about the, you know, the problem with illegal marijuana grows, and the Board of Supervisors allocating some resources to deal with this in the high desert. So there is, you know, something going on. We're going to pull up the narcotics team, right?
That is, I think, the initial plan, like City Manager said, that the Board of Supervisors has allocated funding. Some of that supplemental funding will be used to address code enforcement issues, short-term rentals, snow play issues in the mountains, and then the proliferation of the legal marijuana grows throughout the entire county. I don't know our exact number, but with a couple weeks ago, we were up over 1,000, and maybe up over 250, 300 here in Rockville Basin. So some of that money will go towards strengthening the narcotics division, probably with existing deputies and potentially some overtime spots, because it takes quite a bit of time just to deal with one marijuana grow. The process to obtain a search warrant for misdemeanor is very challenging. The laws don't generally allow for that. So just the beginning process to deal with one marijuana grow is quite lengthy, and then the manpower it takes to safely search one and eradicate it. So that's going to be the focus of the Board of Supervisors with the Office of the Sheriff, but working out the logistics of it. Hopefully we'll get some relief here relatively quickly.
Okay.
So I have a question real quick, and maybe this is something we can bring up at another council meeting, is who sets the fines for these grows? Can we say it's going to cost you $100,000 now if you get caught growing marijuana here in the town?
So there's two things. There's the municipal code, and that's where we can set the fines. The state of California, right, has has set the $500 fine. So I know we've talked about this, or at least staff is kind of. The problem with the municipal code side of it, and we could do that, absolutely, we could do that. We could issue $10,000 fines, you know, per plant. The problem is the eradication of it is the better approach, because the other communities have done it. The collection of these dollars has just not been a deterrent. So absolutely, the council can do that. We could set a per plant penalty, you know, for illegal stuff. but the collection of it is somewhat been problematic with other communities that have tried to do it. The eradication of it is the real big thing that we want to do.
So we could put all these limits and rules on small-term rentals, no parties, no loud noises, but we can't do nothing about property owners having marijuana on there and growing it. So, I mean, there's nothing we can do.
From the
mean,
municipal side, I mean, we can have fines,
I
absolutely.
mean, you can't do nothing else. I mean, we just,
And the tough part of this, quite frankly, to be honest, you know, from a code enforcement side, you know, have our code enforcement officer, and we talk about this a lot. I mean, some of these, you know, situations aren't, you know, they're more safe with a deputy with a gun than a code enforcement officer with a flashlight. So, you know, just, you know, that's why we really need the sheriff's department to be able to do that. And I think they're going to get the resources to do that.
Okay, I have a question. So you spoke about eradication, and then as far as municipalities having, charging per plant, well, if we charge $5,000 per plant, we can't take those plants from them?
They got to eradicate, you know, so we could fine.
And then can we have eradication also?
Oh, yeah, absolutely.
Okay.
They could be together jointly.
Okay.
Well, when this first started out, we were at the League of Cities in Sacramento, in fact, had a whole department, and they were asked about enforcement, and the gentleman at the top said, yes, we're up to over millions of dollars in fines, but don't ask me how much we've collected. Because the problem with the way it got explained to me was that this was, now you got to have somebody go collect that money, and if the person is gone or don't have any money, you've spent all the man hours to try to get nothing. So it's really it's a dilemma. We're really stuck, and this is new. I mean, and right now our best bet is the sheriff just getting all the plants out of there, because then getting those bad folks out of our desert.
Don't we need to talk to Shannon Groves too?
Yeah, it's definitely, we could talk to our state legislators. You know, you know, changing the legislation is really paramount in this. You know, the sheriff's department needs more tools, and
Yeah.
they're very limited in the tools that they have, and that goes to state legislation. And you know, I know this week, I think tomorrow, we have a subcommittee meeting with Mayor Pro Tem and Councilmember Klink, and our legal counsel, Patrick Munoz, will be on, and we could talk about, you know, some of the fines, but he'll talk a little bit more about the collection of it.
Okay. Any other questions for the captain?
so if they don't pay their fines, we can't put a lien on their property.
That's probably not their property.
Yeah.
Then
you
the
know,
homeowner will, then the property owner will have to face the consequences when it happen.
So on, so Needles is doing that. So Needles is doing the fines. They haven't collected a lot, but they've got, you know, they've got these liens on properties. So potentially at one point in time, they may be able to foreclose and, you know, through a tax sale or something, be able to, you know, take the property back. The real key on a lot of these properties, if there's not a, and actually it's a good marketplace, so it may not even matter because the values are so high. But when you have these liens on these properties, the first you have to take out if there's a mortgage, we would have to take out the first mortgage holder so everything else doesn't get wiped off of the property. Because how foreclosure works is the first, you know, and everything behind that is secondary. So if we had, you know, $100,000 mortgage, let's say Bank of America, and we put these liens on it, the only way we get it, and this marketplace may be completely different because values are so high, everybody could be paid off. But in a lot of cases, there's no money to be able to take, you know, to accomplish all the liens on the property. So that's usually what the challenge is. Needles is going through that as we speak. Needles, same like us, and it's the sheriff's department there as well. So they're dealing with that as well. They do have municipal fines. I want to say they have $5,000 per plant. So they're assessing them, but the collection side of it is still to be determined.
Okay. Well, thank you. Okay. City manager update.
So I'll be brief. Well, we'll talk about the fun one. We'll have Miss Benton come up and talk about 4th of July weekend and the festivities. So.
All right. You forgot to put the camera on you.
So before I get started on 4th of July, I do want to give you an update, just to piggyback on what Frank had mentioned with the Veterans Resource Fair. I'm working with the San Bernardino County Director of Veterans Affairs, Frank Guerra, and we have an event scheduled for September 18th from 10 to 2 at Lucky Park Patriotic Hall. So finally, it's happening. But it should be a pretty successful event. We have the Veterans Affairs Suicide Prevention and Counseling semi that will come. So if somebody who shows up needs, I guess, time alone or a counseling session right then and there, they can go into this, fancy trailer, and they have it all set up for that sort of treatment on site. So that's exciting. We have some other things, lots of your ideas, Mac. Thank you so much for giving me all those tips. Now, back to July 4th, we will be hosting our biannual July 4th celebration at Knott Sky Park on Sunday, July 4th from 4 to 10. 4 o'clock, all the festivities starts, inflatable water slides. We will have a rock climbing wall, photo booth, food vendors. We have a pig out in the park barbecue contest going on. You guys will have to come out and check that. It'll be our first one. We'll see how that goes. We got Mac and Danny as 2 of the judges. Bring your dibs.
Tough job.
We also have C1077 will be doing live DJ, and we'll be hosting the synchronized music to the fireworks, which will start at 9:01 from the casino. So we'll have fireworks viewing at Knott Sky Park, but the actual fireworks show will be at Tortoise Rock Casino, where they'll have other festivities going on there as well. So I hope to see you guys there.
Okay. I'll be there.
A couple other events I want to mention, if I have a couple seconds, thank you. I know Frank said he'd be brief, but I didn't. So we're starting our Pioneer Days planning. We got our first meeting scheduled for July 14th. We'd like to invite, obviously, everyone here, including our community members, to come bring your ideas. Volunteer hours are open to, it's a community event. It's our heritage fair, so whatever thoughts and ideas, manpower, time, talent, we're open and accepting. That is July 14th, 6 p.m. at the Lucky Park Activities Center. And lastly, July is National Parks and Recreation Month. I bet you didn't know that either, huh, Danny?
No, I didn't.
So we will be celebrating with a family fun swim night at the Lucky Park Pool on Friday, July 23rd from 6 to 8. It's free. We're going to be making snow cones, have music, pool, good time. Hope to see you guys there. Any questions for me?
What date you said that was?
That's on the 23rd.
Okay.
Bathing suits, please.
Okay,
Thank
Frank.
you, Christina. Maybe we'll have staff give all the updates, and I won't do any talking tonight.
Just one more announcement, and I'll be brief. We did hold our first downtown plan workshop. Unfortunately, I picked the hottest day of the year to hold it on, so small showing, but a very enthusiastic showing. So we're going to do the whole thing again at the Planning Commission meeting July 6th, minus the consultants, so it should be quicker. And give the presentation, but there's also a component where the public can vote on different options and alternatives proposed in the plan with the dots, so we'll have those as well.
Thank you.
And, Mr. Mayor, Council, just, I attended that meeting, and I got to say, just very impressed. Mr. Clark has done a great job kind of leading the team on that, because I don't know if the council has a chance to look at it, but it's very transformational. I mean, I think a lot of things that we'll be looking at are going to be our building blocks for the future, and that being one of them. So, good job. Cindy, you have any? So I won't do any talking tonight, so,
Good, I'm going to keep you quiet.
yeah.
Well, maybe you might know, the naming of the street, Project Phoenix?
So
Did
we
that
did
start?
Yeah, so we did release that, I want to say last week, 2 weeks ago, so it's out right now.
Okay.
So I don't think we've received anything in yet. I can't remember the deadline. I think we put 30 days in on it, so.
Okay, that's good, thank you.
Okay. Well, anybody else? Okay. All right, this is Alzheimer's month, so anybody that needs, go to the websites and get more information on that disease. Thank you. Okay. Oh, yeah, we're not having a regular meeting. It won't be till July. Is it 29th? July 27th is our next meeting, July 27th.